All right, how to deal with difficult customers in your contracting business. We've all had those customers that nonstop complain. They call us at night. They're always wanting cheaper prices. They're never happy, and in the end, we wish that we would have just never dealt with these people to begin with. So in this video, we're gonna talk about exactly how to deal with those people and how to avoid getting them in the future. So number one, the easiest thing to do is just not sell them in the first place. I think the longer and longer that you own a contracting business, the more that you meet people where you just get that like instinct gut feeling that this person is going to be a pain in the ass. Maybe they're not even really a mean person or bad, or maybe they're not really even super complainy, but if you get that weird gut feeling that someone is just not going to be a good customer, in my opinion, you should absolutely listen to that gut feeling and not sell them. When I hired my first salesman, one of the first things that I trained him on was not just on how to make sales, but I said getting sales is 1A, because that's your job as a salesman. Number 2, though, in a very, very close relationship from 1A, which is selling, 1B is being a BS detector. Because what I realized the longer that I went in business, dealing with difficult customers not only makes it really, really difficult to run a construction business, the bottom 20% of customers make up 80 to 90% of the problems. But on top of that, they costed the company money to sell. So if you could avoid selling these people in the first place, it's going to save you a ton of money in the long run. Here's some tips on what to look for so you know you're dealing with potentially a bad customer. Number one is they probably want the lowest possible price, or maybe they're nagging you about price. And what that means, if someone's nagging about price, it could mean that they just don't have money, but in all reality, what it most likely means is that they don't see the value in working with a high quality contractor. And because someone that is wanting the lowest possible price doesn't want or doesn't see the value in a very high price contractor, and they don't value a job well done, it means that they're going to be nitpicking because they're already resenting having to pay you as the contractor in the first place. So don't sell the cheapest possible price, because if you sell the cheapest possible price, you're going to attract the bottom level people. The bottom level people also hang out with other bottom level people. So when you get referrals, it's going to only be bad people. So ideally, don't be the cheapest contractor in the market. Typically, the cheapest contractors in the market are the ones that are always complaining about bad customers. Number two, if you start to get to know your client a little bit more before you sell them, and their life seems really chaotic, maybe they're going through like something really traumatic in their life, or maybe just every single thing always seems to be going wrong, like they're running late for meetings, like a sales meeting, or they just feel very scattered and chaotic. I know it sounds like a little foo-foo, but what I've noticed, at least in my business, is that if I sell these people, that chaos from their life is now going to be transferred into the job site. And for whatever reason, we typically do really good work, but the people that have chaotic lives, the ones where their lives are already not going good, the job site doesn't go good either. I don't know why that is. I just noticed it. It's a huge correlation. So from now on, if someone has a chaotic life, it's not that I don't want to help them. I just don't want their chaos to come into my life, because my life is pretty dang good, and I don't want it to be ruined by someone else's bad energy or bad things going on. So I'm just overly cautious about that. It doesn't mean that I won't help people that have things going on in their life. It's just something to be mindful of. And number three thing to look for when trying to spot these out is overall feeling of like nervousness, or maybe even like demandingness. If you get someone who's super nervous or super demanding, and think of it like if you're just going on dates, right? Like if you're just taking a girl on a date, the first date, she's probably gonna be at her best self. She's not gonna show you all of her flaws when you take her on the first date, because she wants you to take her on a second date, maybe in a third date. And in sales, it's the same way. So if someone's already being a huge pain in the ass when you're trying to sell them, imagine how they're gonna be if something goes wrong on their job site. They're not gonna talk to you, they're gonna get irrational, and it's gonna get bad really quick. So those are the things that I look out for, and what I tried to do to avoid selling these people in the first place. Number two is to set expectations and communicate very, very clearly. So define with really, really clear expectations on one, the scope of the project, the warranty that they can expect, the payment terms, your process from start to finish, and really anything else that you have that you want detailed out. Make sure that you communicate that and that you have it written down in a contract. A lot of contractors are afraid to put all of the small little details into their contract because they're afraid that it's going to scare someone off. In reality, a really good customer will actually appreciate it because they just want to know everything that they're actually going to have done and everything that's going to be covered under a worst case scenario. And on top of that, what you want is if you have a really detailed contract or detailed terms, then it's going to be a lot harder for someone to argue you versus if you have like super vague descriptions of the type of work that you're going to be doing for that person. So Set yourself up for success. Don't be lazy when it comes to putting together an estimate. Make sure that everything is really, really clear. And that way, if your customer isn't happy with what you're doing, you can point out the contract that is what they paid for. And at that point, you as the contractor can either do a change order, or if you set it up right, you could even potentially just leave the job if the customer no longer wants that, but you need to have some type of clause as far as payment and all that stuff. But the point is, make it easy on yourself, set expectations from the very beginning, bring out all of the problems. Like for instance, I sell concrete. Concrete is guaranteed to crack. So what is the very top thing on my contract? That concrete is guaranteed to crack. I don't want to sell someone that thinks their concrete's never going to crack, because they're going to be more of a headache versus if I just find people that understand the downsides of concrete and they make a very conscious and knowing decision of what they're getting themselves into. All right, so number 1 and 2 were all about things that you could do. You could not sell them, or if you do sell them, you want to make sure that you have a very clear terms and expectations all laid out. And number 3 is if something does happen, let's just say you sold this person, let's just say you've done the contract, all that stuff is good, and they're still being a pain in the butt. And as much as we want to avoid things bad from happening, it's just not possible in running a contracting business. As much as you plan and prepare and all that, things just happen, and that is totally okay. So if the customer was good and then they turned to sour, number 3 is all about how to stay confident and calm in the situation. When someone is feeling really chaotic, really stressed, they are looking to you to see if you're also really chaotic and stressed. Because here's the thing, if they come to you, like for instance, if someone came to me and they said, Tyler, my concrete's cracked, and I freaked out, I was like, oh my God, like your concrete's cracked, and I started panicking, then they're gonna take that and then really realize something is wrong. It's kind of like a little kid. Like when I was a little kid, I remember really vividly, I fell down and I got a cut, and it was a pretty bad one. I think it was like on my finger or my hand or something like that. And it really I didn't have any pain, but I looked at it and I got really nervous. And then I remember my mom looked at me and she went, oh, like she gave like a really like stunned look. And her stunned look, because I looked up to her as the leader, made me realize that something was big time wrong. Like I was in big trouble. And so customers are doing that same thing with you. So if something bad happens and they come to you and they could sense nervousness, anxiousness, they could sense it in your voice and your tone that you're not confident on how to deal with a situation, it's gonna make their level of anxiety and their level of nervousness totally like sky high, like past the roof. So very first step, if something happens, just stay calm, stay cool, talk nice and slow, provide a little bit of sympathy for the customer, but reassure them that this isn't your first rodeo, you've handled this before, and you're gonna do your best to get through it with the customer based on the guidelines of the warranty that you guys had set out at the time of initial signing. Also keep in mind that even though people sign contracts, we all have this, I'm sure you guys have this all the time. I have a contract with all of my warranty terms laid out. But if someone's still not happy that something happens, they are going to try to take advantage of you. So what they're gonna say is something like this. I literally just got told this the other day. I said, the customer got a crack, it was in a pool deck, and it's a super small crack, and he's like, well, this is right at the entryway. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't control concrete cracks. I showed them how we put in rebar, exactly where we would put the control joints. I was like, it's a shame it didn't crack in those. There's really nothing that we could do, and at this time, it can't be warranted because this is what we agreed upon. And then he tried to give me a guilt trip and say, well, I know what the right thing to do is, and you're not doing that. And again, I could just take that to heart and get sad, but what I do is I just stay cool, calm, and collected. I don't let them start to take advantage of me, and I say it's not the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, it's just what we agreed upon when we first got into business together, and so we have to follow the agreement. I'm sorry if the crack ever gets to 1/4 inch wide, which is what we warranty, then let me know, and I will gladly come replace that at free of charge to you. Number 4, and I kind of touched a little bit on this already, but just don't take this stuff personal. I remember when I first got into business and my wife would actually see me at nights like super upset because I was like really upset. I figured that every single time that someone had a problem with my company, that they actually had a problem with me personally, and I was losing sleep over it. I was like super anxious. I was super high anxiety. I was super high stress. And what I realized the longer and longer that I do business is that just because someone else is unhappy with me does not mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm screwing them over. It doesn't mean anything. What I realize is some people will just literally never be happy. And I'm sure we've all ran into these people. All you can do is do your best, Treat them with the utmost respect, even if they don't really deserve it in the moment. Listen to them, have empathy, but at the end of the day, business is business, and we are here to make money. We're here to service our clients and do what we agreed upon in the beginning. So if someone agrees to do something with you, like they hire you to do a certain task or a certain project, and now all of a sudden they're not happy about it, or they're not happy about what they signed up for, that's not your problem, that's their problem, because they did not prepare fully for what they were getting into. And so just don't take it personally. All you can do is just be there, tell them, basically like give them like the whole like, hey, I love you, but I can't help you right now because of XYZ. This is what we agreed upon. Just stay cool, calm, and collected. Don't lose sleep over it. Don't let this affect your loved one's life. Like if you go home, don't let your kids notice it. Don't let your wife notice it. Don't even let it affect your personal life, because honestly, it doesn't matter. There's going to be another customer coming. Don't freak out. Even if someone leaves a bad review, it's okay. Just respond as politely as you can and move on. Number 5 is to collect final payment if things go really south, and don't be afraid to take legal action. So this is absolute worst case scenario, but sometimes even if we stay cool, calm, and collected, we have our terms of service all laid out. They sign the contract. We are both in agreement. We do everything we possibly can to help them, and they still refuse to take final payment or to give you the final payment. I hate threatening this because I hate throwing money over people's head or contract or something like that. But I go from being nice and being firm to then being slightly threatening. And again, I don't really do this in a mean way. I just simply state the facts. I say, customer, you agreed on date XYZ to do the scope of work, which has been done and is done in accordance with the agreement, and you are not fulfilling your end of the deal, which is submitting final payment. So at that point, what I do is I tell them exactly what I'm going to do, which is I'm going to seek legal counsel. Most likely, I'm going to put a lien on their house. If I have to, I'll take them to the small claims court. I'll do whatever I have to, because honestly, at that point, if I fulfilled my end of the agreement and they're not fulfilling theirs, the court will be on your side. And even though it sucks, you just have to do it. And I can't tell you how many times I threatened to do this. And as soon as I threatened that, people knew that they were in the wrong. They were just trying to intimidate me the whole entire time. And as soon as I threatened that, all of a sudden I get an email, final payment has been made, and that person never talks to me again, which sucks. I don't want to make it sound like this happens all the time, but we service 200 customers a year. So about probably 1 to 2 a year, maybe 3 or 4-ish. So like 1 to 2% of customers are going to require this level of, I guess, extremes to push them into just doing what is right. So if you have to, don't be afraid to pull that out. And hopefully that's the last little nudge that you need to get someone over the edge, just give you the final payment and let you move on with your life. All right, that's it for this video. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my mastermind. It just got released. It includes info just like this on like how to deal with customers. It also includes a pre-done for you contract. It includes sales training, marketing training. It even includes my software, concreteceo.com. And on top of that, we have a peer mentorship group where there's other contractors just like you who are going through the same struggles. And it's going to be a lot easier to get through if you have a group that's there to back you up, help you out if you get into a bind. I also go live in there weekly. So if you have any questions, bring your questions to the live and I'll answer them on the spot. So check that link below. But other than that, I'm going to see you guys in the next video.